Hi, I'm Emily Wiley. I'm with the teachers group, and I'm going to show you today how to decorate eggs using a craft lathe. Some of the materials that are needed for the um, this project is a craft lathe. This is a craft lathe.
Make sure you see yourself up there.
Okay, it does come apart. I mean, it opens up, and you just set the egg in it and then push on this end to tighten it up, and then make sure the set screw is set to hold it so it doesn't spring one way or the other. Then you also need a pencil, um, soft lead pencil. It will burn out in the firing. Don't worry about leaving any lines. If it does leave a line, I can tell you in a little while how to get that line out, but it's really easy. After you get the egg in, what I try and do, I know it's going to be difficult for you to see, but I can see a seam line on the egg that's going straight across this way. So I have it lined up. The lathe has marks on it, equidistant marks, and you can line them up so you get lines going straight up and down. And once they're going straight up and down, you can get them going straight around. So I just take a guess at how much area I want to leave or have painted and how much I want to leave unpainted so that I can decorate them. But I then just go ahead and take the pencil and mark that line, turn this around and mark this line. Okay. So I've got two areas that I can paint, and I take the egg out of the lathe, paint it with some regular China paint, pounce it with a sponge so that it's smooth, and fire it. Once it's fired, I can put it back in the lathe and again line up what I'm going to call a seam line again. And I'm not finding that one. Okay, so let me do it this way. I'm going to line up these marks right here on the lathe, and then I'm going to open this up and put the egg in there and tighten it up. Again, now I want to get it so that it's level in there. You can see where from here to here is a shorter distance than from here to here. So what I do is just kind of play around with it and make sure that it's in there correctly. I can put a pencil line on, and this will tell me where it's still off center. This is telling me that it's too far this way. So if I push this end down a little bit, it should adjust that. It should make this line right along the painted line. Forgot to tell you too, once you paint it, you do take it out of the lathe to paint it with the base color. And once you paint it, if you're a little bit sloppy and you get some of the paint over in this area where you want it unpainted, all you need to do is take a kneaded eraser and clean that off so that you've got a good, clear, clean edge on this area here. Now, this is where I'm going to try and go slowly and explain everything to you. Again, I'm going to put another line over on this side. And then I'm going to decide how much of a blank area I want to paint on. So what I usually do is leave maybe about a quarter of an inch on that side, and again about another quarter of an inch on this side. That's a little bit shorter than a quarter, but we're close. And then I go from this point over to this point. So I'm going to start over here and just pull it over to this side. I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, so you're not turning. Okay, let me do it this way. Sometimes the egg slips, so one way works better than the other. So I just flip it around. Keep drawing these lines here. Okay. So they're equidistant or pretty much equidistant lines there. If I want to, I can find the center. I can take a guess, and that's what I usually do is just take a guess at where the center of the line is. You can see the lines that I've already put on there. Now to get what I call a design line, I'm going to start from this corner here, and I'm going to end up down here. So I just draw it across there, and it does not have to be perfect. It's not rocket science, so just do the best you can, but mark it all the way around. Okay, get the pencil on there. Okay. All the way around with the lines going that way. Then you do the lines going the other way. So you go from that corner down to this corner. Again, all the way around. So I'm just showing you the basic setup for getting some direction for your designing. Now what I have to do is decide what colors I'm going to use and how I'm going to use them. And to do that, I've used some base for gold, which is white. I've used some of the powdered paint to mix in with it. That one is that one. You can see I've got a variety of colors here, but you just mix the base along with the powdered paint. Then I also add a little bit of silkscreen oil. You got to be careful so you don't add too much or it's going to make everything go flat. Just very little bit will do it. And then thin it down with some turpentine. I use the hypodermic needles. This happens to be 22 gauge or 22. Um, after I buy them on the internet, and then I open the package up and take the protector off of the end of the needle where it's sharp and take a Dremel tool and cut it down so there's just a small end on it. This has got maybe I'm going to say a quarter of an inch end on it, and that's going to work fine. When I get ready to paint, I'm going to empty this one out and show you what I do to how I load them. I take that end off, push this down, and pull this out. And when you go to load them, there seems to be an area that you get to where it kind of blocks it from coming out. So you do have to apply a little bit more pressure to get that out. A little bit of sunscreen oil or silk screen oil, but I'm going to add just a little bit more. I'll show you how little it is if you can see that I'm going to call it like one big drop of the silk screen oil and mix that in really well. And you get it so that it is kind of runny. You can see it running off of the palette knife. Close everything up. If necessary, I could add a little bit more turpentine to thin it down a little bit more, but the thinner I get it, the more it's going to run and spread when it comes out of the needle. So I get that the consistency that I want it, and then I take a spatula and fill it right at the top, and it's going to run down, but it's okay. I have base for gold and paint in the tube. Then what I found works well for a lubricant on the plunger. the plunger has like two channels in it. And what I do is I get lanolin balm. I get that at Walmart. It's what nursing mothers use. And I put that on there and make sure that it's kind of level and filling in those little grooves. And then I take and put everything back together and insert the plunger back in there. And again, it'll go in maybe a half an inch and then it's going to stop and you're going to get some resistance. So you just have to put a little bit more pressure on there and it will go all the way through and it'll slide down to the bottom. I put the needle back on the end of it and then I can start getting some color to come out. I'm not sure how well you can see all this, but you can see I'm getting little dots of color. See the little dots that I put there? That's the size of that the dots are going to be when I put it on the eggs. So what I'm going to do is switch to a larger, um, larger plate. I brought along a black plate so you can maybe see what I'm doing better. And I'm going to use the white, just the plain base, um, to show you what's going on here. This is going to be kind of exaggerated because I want you people to be able to see what I'm doing. But what I'm doing is I'm holding it either up here or like this, depending on how much product I have inside there, depends on how far down I can go. But I would put kind of a large dot. What I should do is show you some of the smaller dots. Okay. They maybe are going to show up a little bit better. Now you could do this basically the same thing. If you don't have the syringes, you can do it using a stylus and put the dots of color. Yeah, okay, let's get some product on there. Do it, but basically you may be able to be getting 2 or 3 dots out before you have to reload it. Whereas with the syringe, I can just kind of keep going with it. That's why I prefer the syringe on there. Okay. When I make, if I want a round dot and I get something like that, I use my kneaded eraser or a Q-tip to clean it back and end up with a cleaner round dot. Okay. So you can have just plain dots. You can make them into like comma strokes. Okay. You can see where this line broke right in there. So what I can do is just take the cleanup tool, go down there, bring it and connect it. And this one needs correcting. This one can be corrected. Sometimes if everything is working fine, you don't have to go back and correct a lot of stuff, but depends on the day. But that will give you some scroll work to put on the edge of the colored section. Let me see. You can make different size dots by applying more of the base just to hold it there in the same spot longer. Make a big dot. You can make a medium-sized dot, or you can make a small dot. And again, sometimes they'll kind of straighten themselves out. Yeah, it's working. You may end up with what looks like a imperfect round but let it set for a couple seconds and it'll pull itself together. When I make some of the flowers, I do a 5-petal flower by I start out making a Y. So, okay, I'm gonna make it bigger than what I would ordinarily do. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. So there is my Y. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And then between these two, put another dot. And then between these two, put another dot. And you have a 5-petal flower. Put the color in the center. There you go. If you want a leaf, there are a couple of different leaves that I can make for the flowers. I can just make one bigger dot, use a pin tool, and pull that leaf down like that. Or I can make a leaf that would have, well, you kind of make like a heart. Okay, 2 dots, and then pull those two together. And I see I goofed up board here. You can also clean up some of this enamel just using a Q-tip. Whatever works for you, that's great. Just stick with it. These are the heart-shaped leaves. And these are just what I call a plain leaf right there. So consequently, if I'm doing ornaments, generally with the ornaments, I just do holly and holly berries. I don't try and go for broke on anything else. So I get a dot of the base for gold, and I have a stem coming down, and then in a sense, it's kind of like an X. So what I'm going to do is start decorating this egg. And to do that, I've got to decide what color I want to use for the flowers. Generally, I will use a yellow for the centers. And when I start doing this, you probably can't see me, but I am trying to push out, get it started on like a Kleenex. So you know it's going to be coming out of the needle, and make a dot for the center, a dot for the center, all the way around. And this is a blue. So I'm gonna make my 5-petal flower. You can see this goes quite a bit faster than using a stylus, where each time you want to put a dot down, you have to reload the stylus. And you can also see I'm getting a variety in the size of the petals. And I think some of them are going to end up being too big. Yeah, I may have to take those off, and I can show you how to do that to correct the size of the petal.
How long does the paint stay good in there? Does it dry out?
Not as long as you keep the top on it. Okay, this is what I was trying to do. I got a couple of them that are big, and I knew they were going to spread. So this is where I'm going to correct it. first of all, I will take a Q-tip and I'm going to clean off everything because it's just faster. Clean it off with the Q-tip.
Sherry asked what a pin tool is.
What is a pin tool? A pin tool is, I think it's actually used in pottery to clean off uneven tops of something. But a pin tool is, and again, I can't see what I'm doing, but it is, it's got a handle, a wooden handle, and then it has like a big needle coming out of it. So it's pointed on the end. And that point will help pull the colors or the base. Okay, got to finish cleaning this up. What I do with my eraser. I cleaned it off with a Q-tip, but now I'm going to clean it off with a kneaded eraser also. Kneaded eraser in this case is one of your best friends. Okay, that's pretty cleaned off. So I'm going to put the yellow back in. Well, I should see if I need to clean any more. Nope. Okay, so then I'm going to put the yellow center back in. And the yellow center back in. And while I've got the yellow out, I'm going to put the yellow centers in the rest of the egg. So stick with me and I'll be through in a couple of minutes here. I know this batch of base that I've mixed up to use is going to run a little bit. So I start out with kind of a small dot. I know it's going to spread some, so it doesn't concern me that it starts out small. Okay. You can see each time I'm moving the lathe, turning it by just rotating it using the end of it. I know there's a handle on the end of this, but I honestly don't like to use it. It kind of gets in my way. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but I don't know what that reason is. Okay, then I'm going to go back and make sure that this is working. You can't see maybe what I'm doing, but before I start, I am trying to apply some onto the Kleenex or paper towel, whatever you've got, just to get it running out of the needle. So, and I was talking, it was running out. So again, just make the 5 petals. Okay. And what I generally do is do all of the flowers and then I'll do all of the leaves. I don't do a flower and a leaf. I continue on with whatever I've started. There is a handout that Anne is going to include.
It'll be on a Facebook page.
Facebook page, okay.
Sherry wants to know, does the color of the unfired colored base fire the same color?
Pretty close. It'll get a little bit darker, but not that much darker. So it's, you know, if you're trying to match something, good luck. Practice or do some test fires first. I'm too lazy. I don't like to do that.
Is that purple egg that's got the real dark purple, is that just one coat or is that a couple coats?
It's probably 2 or 3.
That's beautiful.
That's Rin's Intense Purple.
I'm just going to insert this over where you're working so they can see what you were talking about.
That's fine.
There you go. Can you see that?
That's so deep.
Mhm. It probably took at least 2 coats. That's just a guess. I'm sure there's a date on it, but I don't remember how long ago I did it. So I've been doing these eggs for probably close to 30 years.
Oh, wow.
My grandkids, well, my kids and my grandkids have a pretty good selection of them. I don't have all that they have. So, and I used to try to do when I was doing them for all my grandkids, well, even my kids too, I tried to do different designs on everyone.
Oh, did you use matte paint or regular paint on your eggs for the
It's,
rounded color?
it's regular paint. I know years ago they used to say use matte paint on bisque. And my question is why? Because I like the shine doesn't bother me. It's, sometimes even the regular paints will turn out dull. Sometimes they turn out shiny. Well, like you can see, this one that Ann just showed you, that turned out shiny. Um, the base coat is dull. Okay, this one shows up better being dull right there. But um, I guess if you have a preference, um, so I've got the flowers on. Now what I've got to do is decide which way I want the leaves to go, which pattern I want. If okay, this shows up the best. So if I want this, I'll show you how I do this pattern, and then we can just kind of go from there. So on this one, all of these leaves are going to be going in the same direction. So I'm going to put one there, one there, one on each of these two on this angle of the design. Okay. Once I get all of those on there, then I go back with, again, the pin tool, and I just pull the leaf the way that I want to, the way that I want it to kind of grow. And okay. If I've got a small dot of base on there and I want the leaf a little bit larger, I just kind of circle around and make it a little bit bigger and then pull it out to a point. Pull and lift up.
Now, how are you going to fire those without disturbing the design?
Put them on a stilt, and I can show you. I purposely am working on this one because this is one of the harder ones to get off of the lathe without screwing up the painting on it. But I end up using a skewer like you would have for meat and push it through the lathe, and it works out great. Okay, so all those leaves are done on that side. Gonna turn it just a little bit. And now what I'm gonna do is start up in here. This leaf is gonna go down toward the center. You can see whereas sometimes I'm using the lines to line up where the leaves start. Right now I've got it on this bottom line here. If you noticed, I'm doing all of the leaves that are going in the same direction at once. I'll end up with the leaves going 4 different directions. But this way, okay. Looks like I went all the way around. So this leaf is going to go toward this flower. And this is going to go toward that flower.
Okay, Sherry wants to know what the difference is between working with a hypodermic needle or a parchment cone. What's a parchment cone?
A parchment cone would be a little cone that you make out of parchment paper.
Oh.
The parchment paper, I have a tendency, I don't know if you can tell or not, but when I'm doing this, I am hitting the porcelain. And because this is a metal tip on this needle, it's not disturbing the needle. But if I were using parchment, the parchment is pretty darn flexible compared to this. So I end up smashing the bottom part. So instead of having it come to a nice point, it keeps getting bigger. And it just, for me, it's more difficult to work with. This is so much easier. It's
How long does it take you, do you think, to complete an entire egg from beginning to end?
I'm thinking. Um, well, to get the base coat on maybe takes 5 minutes, and that has to be fired. And the race part, I can do one in about half an hour. Um, very roughly, I'm going to say 45 minutes to complete one egg. Especially, this is a fairly easy design, so it's like, yeah, I can get them done in about half an hour, 45 minutes. Oh, yeah, another thing that I do when I get the hypodermic needles, I added, I forget what they're called. You can get these to put on a pencil to make it, yeah, easier to hold on to. And I cut them in half and I put them on the hypodermic needle to help get some tension there so I can pull the colors or push the colors out. Okay.
It's down just a little because it's a little out of frame.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is put the decorative edge on it. And the one that I'm choosing now is the scroll work. I guess don't show it to you. I'll show it to people.
Yeah, just
Um,
over the egg. Yeah.
This is what I'm going to be trying to do with the scroll. Another thing that you can use is like triangles. But to start the scrolls, I just get some of the base coming out and pull it, make a comma stroke. What I'm going to try and do is make some larger, some smaller, some medium size, and we'll see what all I can come up with. If I get tired and I want to finish up in a hurry, I can do a whole bunch of the big ones or the longer ones. But this seems to work very quickly for me. Okay, but I have a broken line, so I'm just going to take the wipeout tool and clean it back and get it more in a shape that I want it. Okay, okay, once. I can also just add some dots to kind of fill in if I want to break up the scrolls. Okay, now when I want to do the scroll work on this side of it, I have to keep the lathe in the same position. I'm not gonna flip it around, or one line of scrolls is going to be coming this way, the other line is going to be going the other way. So I want it to go all the same direction. So I'm all done. I have a meat skewer, right? One nice thing about this lathe is that it has a hole in this end and it'll go right up to the egg.
I've never done that.
So I get that in there. I loosen this up. I have a stilt. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I got to see which way I'm going here. You, but I want you to stay here. So I get it separated. Probably a little bit more. Stick the stilt in there. Pull this out. And there we go. We're ready to be put in. Well, I would sign it and then put it in a kiln and fire it. Okay, these are some of the other eggs. I'm gonna try and get a pointer. Okay, I have a pointer. Now, instead of what I did was I made kind of like a half circle, just dotted lines, both on that side and then again on this side. And then these flowers, I actually, this is supposed to be a violet. So I pulled these four petals out, and these two I left around, made kind of like a heart shape for the violet. Then there is a stem there, which is just a comma stroke, a little bit larger dot, the green scroll work. Um, this one, I just followed the line all the way around. It's straight around. This one I did the same kind of a C stroke going up and then down and up further and down. But it you can do I call this one an S stroke because if you can see it kind of starts here and then it kind of goes like an S shape. So if you keep the S shape in mind, you can do it that way. This one looks like, oh, I went kind of wild on this one. Have just the little C strokes. This is the what I call what do I call it? Squirrel work. This is a medium-sized dot. This is the flower, of course, and I have a flower and then a dot, a flower and a dot. And I think that takes care of the design on that one. This one, I made dots in a triangular shape pattern. And you can't really tell, I can see it here, but I do have 3 dots of the same color as this down on that edge and then 3 dots on that edge. I'm trying to see what's different. This one, when I put the base coat on, I used some of the base for gold on a sponge. And well, first of all, I had the base coat on and I fired that. And then I used some of the base for gold on a sponge and just put a design on there just to make it a little bit different. The flowers and that are basically the same. This one, I did a darker base coat on it and then just the white flowers and the white design and then the triangular edge on it, just for some variety. This one, I've got 9 grandsons, and I keep thinking, how many guys like a lot of flowery stuff. So what I did was I made some of them that were just lines. And I thought, well, that suits the boys a little bit better, but That doesn't happen too often. They get whatever I give them, so, and they don't complain about it. You need the either porcelain egg or an ornament. I was going to show you an ornament. But whatever you have work on that you want to decorate. This is one of the ornaments that I do. Okay, yeah, I can see. Again, you do need a lead pencil and it will fire out. You can see that there are no pencil marks on these. You need, of course, the base for gold. It comes in a powder form and you mix it with a closed drying medium. The lanolin balm is what I buy at Walmart. It's in the baby section. And then the turpentine that you add to the base for gold to help thin it down. The silkscreen oil that you use also with the base. You need like a brush when you're painting the base coat on. The hypodermic needles is what you need to apply the base. Kneaded eraser, it comes in a package like this. And once you get it, you take it out of the package and you hold it in your hand and warm it up, and you can shape it into a small point, or you can leave it a larger point, you know, whatever's going to work for you. It's kneadable, so you can change shapes on it. The spatula, of course, you need to mix the base and also use it to put the lanolin on the plunger. And the wipeout tool will help you clean up some of the edges where you need to shape it up a little bit better. Then the paper towel or facial tissue, and then a blank tile that you use to mix it's not blank right now, but it was blank when I started. So then on the handout sheet, I've made a diagram. This is the painted areas here. And you start with the lines going around the egg, and then you do the diagonal lines going from one side to the other, and then the other side. I left this one blank, so if you take some acetate paper and put it over here, you can play around with it and come up with some other designs if you wanna do that. Just whatever's gonna make you comfortable, go ahead and do it.
All righty. Well, thank you for joining us. And next month, we're going to have another live, and that one has yet to be announced. So check the Facebook page, MWOCP, or Michigan World Organization of China Painters, and we start at noon.